Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Nercular reaction for March 5th, 2021. I'm Will.
And I am Zach. So what have you been up to, Will? What's been blowing up your brain with nerd shit?
Well, here recently, I've just been reading the Dresden Files. Just finished the second book not too long ago, starting the third, which, I think I'm on the downhill slide because even though it's quite a long series, the consensus is that the second book is the one that's of the lowest quality and roughest to get through. So I think it should be up from here. Gonna blast through the WandaVision later this week. That way, for the second episode, we'll both be caught up and we can talk about that. So that and just painting Age of Sigmar models. So,
what's Age of Sigmar for those who don't know?
Well, Age of Sigmar is a miniature war game made by Games Workshop, the same company that does Warhammer 40K, probably the most famous series. It's the latest iteration of their fantasy war game line. They used to have a game called Warhammer Fantasy Battles, which was very much a large model count, rank and flank, so similar to the style of the historical war games. But in Age of Sigmar, they brought it back down to, 28 to 32 millimeter round bases, similar to Warhammer 40K, where in theory, fewer models, a lot easier for someone to get into. So that's
they got the character books and all that, kind of like what Warhammer has.
They do indeed.
You cannot have that tabletop game without a character book, right?
Nah, yeah, they call them battle tomes.
Okay.
You can't have a straightforward name, Zach. It's got to be something lore friendly. It's like Games Workshop. They want to have IPs for literally everything. So the elves aren't elves. They're elves. Spelt with an AE. The dwarves are called Dwarden because you can't
elves
copyright.
Sound like an ale.
Yeah.
Something that I would drink.
For sure. Yeah, you see, you can't copyright dwarf and elf and all that stuff, so you got to come up with your own IP. So,
I see. Any music you like listening to that's got you jamming?
Here recently, I've been going through Ronnie James Dio's era of Black Sabbath, which, I mean, I might be angering a few folks, but which is the era of Black Sabbath that I prefer, because I think Dio is just a superior singer.
Oh dang, dude! I love Dio, man. He was a bucket of wind, man. He had a voice of an angel. I know. So does Ozzy, but Dio's better, in my opinion.
Hey, no, I agree. I mean, I don't know if Ozzy had a voice of an angel. Voice is something. I mean, a recently stabbed banshee, perhaps, but an angel's pushing it.
And we just lost all our viewers. We're gonna get so much hate mail.
I don't dislike Ozzy. I don't dislike Black Sabbath with Ozzy.
Make sure you click the subscribe button. Smash that notification bell.
Oh, for sure.
Because notifications don't mean anything.
Very much so.
I hear that, man. So, where about in the discography of Ronnie James Dio are you?
I just started.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, I've heard most of it, but I just started with Heaven and Hell, Black Sabbath, and I'll be going on to their next release with him, which name currently escapes me. Hold on, give me a say. Yeah, let's see.
Man, this should be 1990, and you should just be able
Yeah.
to not have Google.
What? Yeah, Mob Rules. That's right. Yeah, Mob Rules is one I like a lot. One of the cool thing about Mob Rules is because the title track actually ended up in the SNES and Sega video game,
Yeah.
Spider-Man Maximum Carnage, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, there was that. Yeah, you're talking. Yes, that game on the Sega, the race car RCA or whatever. That had another Black Sabbath song in there, but that was from Ozzy's era.
Yeah.
And that was awesome. I think it was also on the Super Nintendo as well. In fact, I had a coworker. We were talking about that I don't know, month, 2 ago, maybe 3 months ago. I don't remember. But no, I totally enjoy those games, and I did enjoy them at the time. At the time, I didn't even know that was Black Sabbath.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm excited that that's the next one I'll tear through. I mean, I'm usually not somebody who feels the need to go through a discography in chronological order, but I mean, I probably will with this one for no other reason than
there's 2 bands I've done before where I go chronologically. One of them is Blind Guardian, power metal band from Germany, and the second one is Death.
Kind of burying the lead there with that name, aren't they? It's like we have a next song about blood and Satan. It is entitled "Blood and Satan" from our latest album, Blood and Satan.
Well, I can guarantee you that did not have a song or even an album, Blood and Satan, but it definitely should.
I respect it. It's like I just would like to have been a fly on the wall for that particular conversation. The whole let's name the band conversation. Somebody, well, all our songs are about death. Why don't we just name it Death?
I tell you, so I recently discovered a band called I'm gonna get hate from all the Spanish speakers out there, and those that know Mayan culture. I honestly don't know how to pronounce it, but Ibalba, I think is how you pronounce it. It's Xibalba, and so I think it's Ibalba. I think the X is silent, or maybe it's Zibalba. I don't know. I don't know anything about it, but anyway. So apparently this is a Mayan death god, and whatnot. Like that take like animals or not animal human sacrifices and stuff like that. And so this is about death. More so the Mayan apocalypse. and so I've just been caught off with this album that came out last year, and it's called Años en Inferno. And it's freaking killer, man. It's a killer banger. It's that slow death metal with heavy riffs. The slow, heavy riffs, and I dig it. Totally dig it. And this band is from California, and they've been around for some time. And this just happens to be the newest album, and I just recently discovered them, like a few weeks ago.
Cool.
So I've been jamming that, and I've heavily been jamming Eternal Champion. They're a power metal, traditional metal band here from Austin, Texas, and they released a new album last year called Ravening Iron. I don't know if this will even make it into the video, but we'll see. I don't know how this thing actually records visually.
I like metal bands whom all their covers, look like a Frank Frazetta painting. That's old
Yes.
school.
Yeah. Well, and Eternal Champion's got another one that's their first album that they released. It's got that Frank Frazetta look as well. And Molly Hatchet. Shoot, I don't know if Molly Hatchet's the one that really put the popularity of Frank Frazetta out there with the cover of their albums. But I mean, it's one of those albums that's like, man, that's real metal. And then you go to listen to it and you're like, well, this is kind of rockabilly. Southern rock.
Hey, I'm looking at the cover of Ravening Iron, and you just got to respect the artistic choice of having two women on the cover, and there are 4 breasts and only 2 arms. So, I mean,
Don't forget the red dragon in the background.
oh, yes. Okay, now I see it.
With a bunch of skull. I mean, there is a mountain of skulls that one of the women is sitting upon. Man, I mean, like Queen of Death.
Who apparently is
Thanos. This would be the woman Thanos wished he could court.
I mean, she's pretty chill. It looks like she's selecting her order at a Starbucks. It's like, yes, I want. Respect. Probably pumpkin spice.
Pumpkin spice. Right now, in the spring, or right now, right before spring, she wants that pumpkin spice.
Yeah, right. Relax, Karen. Keep the dragon on the chain.
The next skull is the surfer at the window. Poor girl. Poor guy. Or whoever.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so you've actually watched the first 8 episodes of WandaVision, right? Like, I haven't watched them at all. I've been waiting to just burn through all of them.
Yes.
So, I mean, without getting into any details, because we'll save that for the next episode, what are your impressions so far?
I like the creative way that the story is told visually. Each episode represents a time in history of TV. So, for instance, the first episode is very Dick Van Dyke, and it's actually like the first 2 episodes are very Dick Van Dyke like. And as the episodes progress, it becomes, like you get the 50s, the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s to the modern day. Mm-hmm. And you'd be able to recognize the intro to almost every single one of the episodes immediately, if you're familiar with the popular TV shows of the decades. And even the way that the movies, or not the movie, but the TV show is filmed, you see that throughout each episode. So there's a very interesting creative story there just in the way it's filmed. Though you could do it with almost pretty much any other, creation, if you wanted to put a TV show out there and it's like, you know what, I want this episode to be filmed like it was in the 50s or the 60s and do that each time with a new episode. But the way that WandaVision tells the story through that creative lens, literally, it makes sense because it's WandaVision. And without giving any spoilers away, if you're familiar with the Wanda, with Scarlet Witch in the comic books with Wanda, you would understand real quickly what's going on and why it's well, not necessarily why it's happening, but you'll understand very quickly what's going on in the show with her. And if you're only familiar with the MCU and not really have ever read any of the comics, you might know, you might get an understanding of it. I'd hope you could, but I don't know.
Well, here's a question I have for you. Like for me, like after Endgame came out, which I enjoyed immensely, and I'm a pretty big fan of the MCU. I mean, I'm not one of those who can't acknowledge that there have been missteps. The second Thor film wasn't all that great. Iron Man 2 at the time wasn't all that great, but I think post Winter Soldier becomes a slightly better movie. And also it becomes a better movie after, the entire Infinity Saga is complete. But by and large, I think it's, one of the greatest film series ever, and I enjoyed it so much, and I think that it climaxed so well in such a huge event with, spoiler alert. I mean, but if you haven't seen it by now, come on, just watch it. It climaxing with Tony Stark's death and all that stuff. To be honest, I haven't been all that interested in more Marvel. It's like it was almost like I finished this giant book and I was ready to move on to something else. So WandaVision will be the first dose of Marvel. Granted, COVID kind of put the kibosh on a lot of what Marvel has been trying to do in the last couple of years. Black Widow supposedly is still supposed to come out in theaters at some point in the future, who knows? But like I saw Spider-Man Far From Home months after it came out, just on streaming.
I still haven't watched it.
It's good. I mean, it's good. I mean, it's totally worth your time. But it's just the urgency to go, the next Captain America or the next Iron Man has come out. So all that's, I've lost that urgency, right?
Right. I was getting superheroed out by the time Spider-Man Far From Home came around. I was just like, man, I've got superhero overload,
Well, I mean, that's certainly something that a lot of people have talked about and are concerned with. I mean, at the end of the day, are the movies good?
Right.
I mean, if they're good, then it probably won't go away. But for me, it was just specifically the whole Marvel universe thing. My favorite characters that I gotten attached to, they've died or retired, and I'm like super bummed that Chadwick Boseman is gone because Black Panther was so great, and you're not going to see the next one of the. I don't know. It's just I'm interested to see if I can get into WandaVision because just like the urgency, the excitement to go see the next MCU movie, for me for a long time went away, not because of anything bad. It's just, I saw it, Endgame. It was very satisfying. I'm like, cool. So we're like, the idea is almost like it peaked.
Mm-hmm.
So going to see Captain Marvel 2, the reblasting, I'm just not really,
Yeah. No, I totally understand. I was after Endgame, I felt very similar to it because it's Endgame happened, and obviously it happened, and then you have it was planned to just have a year off without another MCU movie, but COVID hit, right? 2020, right? COVID hit, and the MCU movies that were planning to have their release last year just all got pushed back. Which was fine because now I'm kind of ready. Now I'm kind of ready for them, especially after watching WandaVision. I'm like, you know what? I'm ready for it. I'm ready to do it. Especially with Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I'm really excited for that. Personally, in my personal opinion, it is the Star Wars movie franchise of our generation. We're or of this new generation, not necessarily our generation, but for the new generation, it's better than the sequel trilogy. It's a heck of a lot more entertaining, a lot more fun, and the characters are much more interesting.
Well, it is certainly when the first Guardians came out, one of the biggest praises that it got, which I happen to agree with, it was really the first, or at least the most successful film that kind of was deliberately trying to tap into that fun science fiction, fantasy, adventure. It was deliberately trying to be the same type of story as Star Wars, and unlike other films that was trying to do the same thing, this one actually did it well and was very successful.
Right.
And I agree with that. You know, it was extremely fun. I think the MCU, you know, largely as a whole, kind of was our generation Star Wars in terms of being the huge blockbuster film event. Granted, it took about 14,000 movies, but
Right.
but still, it pulled it off.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing, and here's the thing, it stuck the landing. That's why, in my opinion, I mean, you may not like, but in general, most people were satisfied by the conclusion of that. So, like for me, I'm really interested to actually see Black Widow when it finally comes out, because a lot of Marvel's big successes were films that, yeah, it's a superhero film, but it's like Winter Soldier. Yes, it's a superhero film, but it's a spy thriller that has a superhero in it, that deals with a superhero character. It's like Thor. It's kind of like a comedy, but with Thor, with a superhero character. Whenever the MCU has been able to find that specific theme, that specific type of movie that they want to make, and just utilize their character within that story space, that's where a lot of their best movies come from, like Black Panther.
Yeah.
It's I watched a video by Matt Colville, he has a YouTube channel talking about Dungeons and Dragons and things like that, and he was using Black Panther as an example for a dungeon master to show, you know, like where power comes from in a fictional world, and it's in that film, it's sort of just like a royal Macbeth, you know, kingdom running, falling type of story, but it involves, you know, a superhero. And I'm interested to see with Black Widow, a spy thriller, you know, kind of like, you know, the Winter Soldier was, just with Black Widow being the main character.
Yeah.
And any opportunity to see, you know, Jim Hopper again. I mean, it's clear that he went through the portal and he went to Russia, and that's why. I mean, everybody just assumed. I mean, you could tell that and assume that with the post-credit scenes that after the second season, I just didn't realize he was gonna suit up and be like a crazy superhero. So hey.
I tell you what, when I saw him in that trailer, I was like, wow, that's amazing. That's for sure. You know, when it comes to the Black Widow movies, or movie that's about to come out, I don't know if I've felt that excited. Well, because I am excited for it.
Mm-hmm.
There is an excitement for it that's, I want to say, a lot stronger than I was for the Tom Holland SpiderMan movie. You know, the first one that he did. You know, and I love SpiderMan. SpiderMan's my favorite character.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's been my favorite character for ever since I was a kid. You know, when I was growing up on the early '90s Spider-Man cartoons with the X-Men and Batman and Superman and all that stuff, I always was looking forward to watching Amazing Spider-Man. Um, I
Nice.
was I was excited whenever um, the first Spider-Man came out, and uh, you know, it's not hard for me to admit, but I loved it, even though it was garbage. I loved it. It was because I was able to see my favorite hero on the big screen,
Right.
um, and it was Spider-Man. It was Spider-Man. It was X-Men that really got me into comics, and and I've always had that love and enjoyment to escape into the world, the fantasy world of Marvel, and
Right.
see these characters perform in such a way with their powers that I'd only, you know, we all wish, we all could dream that we were somehow superpowered. Um, you know, I do it all the time still. Like, man, if I had superpowers, this is what I'd want, you know, type of deal. Um, what I do with them, I don't know.
Well, that's everybody. I mean, everybody using, at best just to have fun.
Yeah,
At worst, I mean, we won't go into that. I mean, if you've seen Brightburn, that's probably the farther end of the spectrum.
yeah. I imagine there would be people that would be like that, though. You know, just like watch the world burn and just terrorize everything because they have the power to. Um,
Well, I mean, everything's optional in life, assuming you don't care about the consequences. So, what
yeah,
happens when they're on it? I mean,
I know this much. If I did have superpowers and I could choose them, I would want Wolverine's healing factor, pretty much his strength as well, in flight.
right. I think the big question for me is that do you want superpowers? Or are you asking what superpower you'd want if you were going to be a superhero, or just what superpowers you'd want, Jim? Because I think you get two different answers based upon what your response is to that question. If you're asking me, all right, if you're going to be a superhero, what power you want, I would say super speed, like the Flash or what have you, because that's the most practical one for actually fighting crime, responding to danger, and let's be real, all you'd have to do is just keep moving. No one would ever discover who you are. You'd never get caught. You'd never be defeated. It drives me insane watching the Flash TV show. He's always stopping and conversing with the villain. I'm like just sitting there like going, just why are you stopping? Why are you talking? Why are you not moving? You can move faster than light. What are you doing? You do one thing, you run fast, but you're not doing it. It
There wouldn't be,
drives me
there
insane.
wouldn't
But
be
the
much of
point
a story, though.
exactly, but that's my point. If you were actually going to be a superhero, that's what you'd want to be able to move so butt kickingly fast you can never be defeated, never be caught by the authorities, by villains. I mean, you just be called the ghost because that's all anybody. Whoosh, and then the purse snatcher is out. Whoosh, the terrorists have been defeated. Whoosh, the bank robbers are done. So it just now if it was just having powers in general, probably Professor X's telepathy. But that'd be the one that would really,
Why?
really, really tempt you to. I mean, you could just like read slash control people's minds. That one, like that's the one you gotta be careful with. Like every waking moment of every day, it's like, okay, I am going to just drive across, Tesla headquarters and go boo, 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 and have Elon Musk wire me $1 million because I'm his buddy.
You could tell him you're his buddy too, and he wouldn't know the
Yeah.
difference. You could
Or
implant memories of y'all chilling and smoking pot together and having a grand old time. And then you throw Joe Rogan in there, and you end up on his podcast.
Sure. And that's this tame, really tame example of what you could do with that one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like we're not even going to get into, White House tour, and then 15 minutes later you're given the nuclear launch codes. That's the.
You go get the nuclear launch codes from any country in every country.
Well, we're talking about this. Have you ever seen the movie Chronicle?
I have not. Mm-mm.
You need to see the movie Chronicle so we can talk about it.
Okay.
Kind of tag into this conversation because it's about these three friends who discover this entity. Doesn't really explain what it is, but it gives them telekinetic powers, and it explores literally what we just talked about.
Yeah. Wow, that sounds pretty interesting. No, I would want to fly and have Wolverine's healing factor and his strength just because I'd want to fly, and if I hit a plane, I'm not going to die.
Yeah, well, hey. Nobody really thinks about that. I mean, the insects are traveling at super speed now, or flying. Bird strikes.
Yep. So it's
You
like
get tore up.
at such an extreme speed. I mean, if you have the speed of Flash, right, and then you can fly, and you have Wolverine's healing factor and strength, I guess, you're gonna feel everything hit you like needles. I mean, it's gonna rip through your skin. You'd want the healing factor.
Well, I mean, Wolverine's healing factor sands the adamantine skeleton. What you're really talking about is immortality. That's functionally what it is.
It's an awesome power. I like it.
I mean, hey, it doesn't suck. I mean, there are worse that I could think. At first, the first few, you'd think something like that. The cool part also comes hand in hand with the downside of it is, before you get to really truly experience the benefits of it, it's like, 100 years later, everyone you know and are attached to is grown old and died. So before you start reaping the benefits of those, it's like, oh, okay, well, this is a bummer. And it'd be very, very difficult in today's day and age to keep that hidden.
Now, well, if you had that kind of healing factor, and your cells are replicating in this, I guess, would you stay young looking? I mean, would your skin ever age?
Probably not, because age is just your cells breaking down.
Right.
You have that ability. It's just going to prevent them from doing that.
If the prime male, if a male in his prime is in his mid-20s, you'd look like you're in your mid-20s forever. Correct?
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So in that sense, as people die and grow old and whatnot, you're just staying in the young crowd, man. You're there. Mm-hmm. Heck, you could do it continuously, going from one area of the world to the next. No one would ever know the difference.
Yep.
No one would ever know the difference, and you could do it forever.
Yeah, the only where you run into trouble is like getting your passport and your social security card and stuff like that.
Hey, man, you can fly. I can fly. What's a
Yeah, that's right. Oh, okay, that's right. You can fly and you're immortal. Okay. I'm just really rich and have to show an extreme level of self-control
yeah?
all the time to keep from being a horrible human being.
It's
Sounds
like
like you got the more fun one.
yeah. Oh yeah. I just want to have fun. That's that's what I want to do. Have fun. That's greatness. But you know what? With the mind control thing, I totally, man, mind control. You pick it up, and it's like you wouldn't have to work hard to get money if that's what you're needing to survive, right? You just
Oh no,
man, you could sit there.
oh,
You could
if he
put
just did it for
in some
Robin Hood
random guy. You would know if that guy had money in his pocket. And you could be on not a street corner, but say you're outside of Starbucks and a guy walks in or a woman walks in and it's like you're hitting her thoughts and it's like, oh wow, she's got $200 in her pocket or in her purse. He's got $100 bill in his back fold. Put the thought in him, give him money.
Yeah. You'd be tempted with stuff like that all the time.
Yeah,
Constantly, every moment of every day. You'd basically, I think, if an ordinary person just got Professor X's telepathy, they would just be like somebody from My 600-Pound Life, because you just have everything just given to you. You probably wouldn't make it past 40.
yeah, forget that power.
Yeah.
Unless you're friends with Elon Musk.
Oh, yeah. Well, there are probably more fun or rich guy buddy options than that one.
Well, and if you want a personal trainer, it's like, you know what, I want to get buff like The Rock. Dude, you can get his personal trainer for free.
For sure.
Man, you're making me think that I need to have Professor X's telepathy power, be able to fly, have Wolverine dealing factor.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you'd be the superhero drawn on the back of a, fourth grader's notebook, which, hey, that's a pretty powerful one to be, man.
Yeah. but you know what? I mean, I'm not invincible. It's not like, yeah, I'm not trying to be the god that can't be killed or anything like that. Maybe it's more like the Highlander, as soon as my head is cut off, I'm done.
Oh, hey, that's one way to go.
Yeah.
Well, all right, man. It's been fun. You ready? It's WandaVision next week, right?
WandaVision. Let's do it.
All right, man.
All right.
Good talking to you.
It's good talking to you too. And thanks for everybody who showed up and watched. Remember, smash the like button, hit subscribe, and hit the notification bell because notifications mean jack.
Correct. See you next week.
See you next week.